Hello and welcome to another Champion of the Week from GameReplays.org. This week we will be discussing LeBlanc, and I'm here with C-Zone. Say hello, C-Zone.
Hello.
I'm also here with Sydney Lasserot. Say hello, Sydney.
Hello.
And Tank Hunter 678.
Hello.
Okay guys, thank you for joining me. It's great to have you here. This week we'll be talking about LeBlanc. So who is LeBlanc? Deep within the winding dungeons that honeycomb the earth, beneath its dark, meandering streets, lies the real underbelly of this sprawling metropolis. A haven for all manner of malevolence, amongst the cult, covenants and secret societies that call this labyrinth their home. LeBlanc the Deceiver presides over the Black Rose, a remnant from a lost yet similarly unscrupulous time in Nooxian history. Ruthless and seemingly ageless, LeBlanc and her ilk were the mainstay in Nooxian political affairs during the era before the militarization of the Nooxian government. So, briefly moving on, we're going to talk about what type of champion is LeBlanc. So, is she a mage? Is she a melee DPS? Is she a champion that's to go in the jungle? Who knows? Well, that's what we're here to discuss. So, moving on, I'm going to pass that one to Tank Hunter 687. What type of champion is LeBlanc?
LeBlanc is an assassin mage who has high base damage, but not so great scaling. Her primary role is to pop in, assassinate the key critical player, and then pop out.
Okay, over to Sydney.
I don't know about scaling. If we look at the numbers, she has at least one skill that scales off 90% ability power. That's a lot. And several skills that scale off 60%. That's like an Annie without the stuns.
And C-Zone?
Yeah, the thing that LeBlanc can do though is that she can teleport in and just nuke the shit out of someone and then move out. And as scurries are usually at the back of the team, that can be really, really, really annoying if you're playing Kokma or something, which I do.
Yeah, it's like Kassadin.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the main thing that helps LeBlanc scale is her ultimate. Is at level 3, a 40% increase on your Q, which is your primary nuke. Well, if fire off a Q, then fire off another 40% stronger Q. That is what constitutes most of her burst, since she uses her E primarily to engage and pop back to escape, and her snare is not all that good at this time.
So, can she be played in more of a support role? For example, she does have a silence with her Q, and her E ability, which is a stun, in combination with the Mimic, her ultimate. She can fire 2 ethereal chains and stun her opponent for up to 2 seconds, I believe.
For 1, it's not a stun, it's a snare. For 2, it requires you to stay near your target for 2.5 seconds. Given how flimsy LeBlanc is, the moment she pops in, if she doesn't kill somebody, she's going to die instead.
And over to Sydney.
What Tank Hunter said. I mean, you can count on Morgana's stun to stun the whole team, but she needs to survive for 2 seconds for that. Well, that's not much of a stun. And LeBlanc is the same. You can't snare a lot of people with double snare, which takes 2 seconds each to work. On the other hand, the 3.5 second silence is something to look at. That thing shuts down mages real hard. And you can't flash away from that because you'll be silenced.
So, are you saying that she's more of an anti-carry role, an assassin?
True.
Basically.
I agree.
Okay, just to summarise, the Deceiver is a mage which does high burst damage, and just like any other mage relies on high amounts of ability power throughout the course of the game to do large amounts of damage. She is a carry, which means she will be doing most of your team's damage in team fights, and the longer the game goes on, the stronger she will become.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
LeBlanc is an early game hero, primarily. She's great in the early game, she's great in the mid game, but come late game, her scaling is not that great. She falls into more of a support role.
Yeah, she's into carry. She can't carry.
Well, the thing is, if she gets a lot of, really a lot of kills at the early and mid game, which she could do, she can have the items to compensate for a bad scaling, but I wouldn't call her a carry.
Well, if the the carry was more referring to like not Nasus or like Tryndamere sort of carry, just basically that she gets stronger
Which
in the
is
late game compared
much
to
single damage. Single target damage. You can't carry with a single target nuke.
Well, she is an assassin, and yes, she does that. That's true. I don't disagree. She does do a lot of like single target damage, but she's still a carry. She still gets like strong late game, and she can jump on a squishy and just annihilate them late game. Whereas earlier game, she can't do that. Basically, the longer the game gets on, the stronger she gets, in my opinion.
Come level 6, you can almost always get first blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you remember, the day she was released, you couldn't lane against her. She went mid, she killed you at level 2. Unless you played really safe, or unless you played just a lot better than her. You couldn't survive that. And she didn't run out of mana, because her abilities cost very little mana. And it was crazy. Crazy OP. And people started calling her LeBlanc for that.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I agree with the points that you're making. I'm not saying that she's a carry like massively late game. I'm just saying like early game she's got a lot of burst damage, and she's reliant on AP. So like obviously you don't have that much AP at the start, so she can go in on a target and try and burst them down, but she won't have that impact that she does late game. Later on in the game, she gets more effective at doing that burst roll, at getting that in. She's more effective as an assassin. She's basically an assassin. She's great 1v1. She can get in and destroy the minions.
I mean, you wouldn't call Akali a carry.
No, Akali's more of an anti-carry, I would say.
That's what I'd say about LeBlanc.
Same.
That is precisely what LeBlanc is.
Yeah.
That's
Because she goes in, kills the carry, and goes out.
Yeah, she's a carry in the essence that she does a lot of damage, your team's damage, and can kill the...
Well, she could carry it by killing everyone, but that's not really carrying. Because she'll kill everyone in early and mid game, like by ganking, and not in a team fight killing everyone with epic damage.
And also, she has no means to survive a team fight. At least, I mean, Akali has her Twilight Shroud or something, and her spell vamp. LeBlanc has nothing except her passive, which won't help her.
Okay, I agree with the points that you guys are making, but I would still class her as a mage carry because of the amount of damage that she puts out. But anyway, moving on to, is she an easy to pick up and play champion? Over to you, Tank Hunter.
Most champions in League of Legends are fairly easy to pick up and play. LeBlanc is not one of them if you're not already used to squishy champions. I mean that severely. She has some of the lowest starting HP. Her combo often, since most people go with Q and E, will mean that she's gonna hit the person, then she's gonna pop right on top of them. Now, if they're like a melee DPS like Zen and he already had his Q queued up, he can possibly hit her the third time, which will knock her up, and he'll just slaughter her right then and there. So you have to be conservative with how you use your abilities while still aggressive at the same time. So she's fairly complex and not that easy to just pick up and play by anybody.
Right, awesome, good points. And over to you, Sydney.
I don't think so. I think her auto attack damage is very low, and it's really hard to last hit with her unless you are very good at last hitting. And what Freak said in the Champion Spotlight, that she has an excellent auto attack animation. That's true. I mean, that auto attack is quick and the projectile flies real fast, but the damage is really low, and you have to get used to the way she farms up.
Okay, C-Zone, your thoughts?
Well, I never actually played her, but a friend of mine did, and he didn't do well, and he picks like a new hero every 2 days, and he's usually decent with his new heroes. So I wouldn't say she's easy to pick up and play based on that, but I don't know. She seems like it seems like you need a bit of experience with it to time her combo well. So I wouldn't say she's a pick up and play hero or a champion, of course. Forgive my heroes intuitiveness.
Okay, just to summarise, the Deceiver is a difficult champion to pick up and play. She has a low health at the start of the game with low resistances as well. LeBlanc is an assassin, making her excel at 1 versus 1 confrontations, but making her vulnerable against groups of enemies. To get the most out of LeBlanc, you also have to master longer spell chains than some other mages. This can make it difficult not to break the spell chain in the heat of battle by choosing the wrong spell. So moving on, what playstyle is LeBlanc? So in other words, is she a jungler? Where do you put her? Does she go mid lane, bot lane, dual lane? Over to you, Sydney.
Most LeBlancs I've seen go mid lane because she can shut down a carry really well due to her high base damage. I mean that QE combo will deal a lot of damage, and the carry can't flash away or ghost away, or well, maybe a carry can cleanse away, but that would require several summoner spells to be spent, and she's quite deadly.
Yeah, we were saying about her being a good anti-carry, so mid lane.
Yeah, well,
mid lane is probably the best place for her. I do agree.
I think yes. I mean, she doesn't contribute a lot to a duo lane. She does some damage, but the faster she levels, the higher her base damage is. So I think she needs the experience to be relevant in the lane mid game. And late game, she will be unnoticed, I think.
And over to you, C-Zone.
Well, I agree with mid lane. The best LeBlancs I've seen went mid lane and then ganked bot and top whenever possible. And I think that's a good idea usually, because she is an assassin, so she's good at killing people that are almost dead anyway. And of course she can tower dive decently with her double teleport. So, but I'd say mid lane for the experience, like Sydney said.
Okay, some good points there. Over to you, Tank Hunter. Your thoughts?
Typically, it'd be mid lane, but if your team has a jungler, I would not be afraid to stick her solo top. The main reason being is that she does need that early XP for her base damage, and usually you'd stick if your team has like if your team has like 2 carries, or like a carry and an anti-carry, or a carry mage, and you have a jungler, you'd want to stick the carries and the mages in the solo lanes, and this applies true for the enemy team as well. They're likely to stick another squishy hero over at top, even if your LeBlanc can't take mid, because the enemy type. Because for instance, if there's like a Zao in mid, you don't want to send LeBlanc into that, because if she'll fire off her Q, he'll charge into her and she'll completely mess up her E and just get destroyed. You stick her over at solo top, she'll be up against that Ashe or that Corki and just destroy them.
Yes, I agree. But, however, if the enemy team chooses a Kassadin, you probably don't want to be picking LeBlanc because she's not going to be a good counter pick against a Kassadin in mid. She can, however, go bottom and dual lane. In my opinion, she is quite good in dual lane because she does have CC. She's got the ethereal chains, and in combination with Mimic is like a double snare, because she said it wasn't a stun earlier on, it was a snare. I apologise for that. And she's also got a Q for the silence, so she has a decent amount of CC, so she can dual lane, but obviously primarily you want her to be in the mid lane so she can get those early levels and be able to carry the game more effectively.
I don't think she's suitable for a 2v1 lane since she doesn't have much AoE damage. she wouldn't be able to farm as well as, say, Nasus or Morgana or Anivia, who are notable for being able to 2v1.
Yeah, primarily you do want her in the middle lane and not the jungle, because that wouldn't be the best place for her. So, you know, she can do a dual lane because of her CC, so she's not, you know, she can go in the dual lane. Any champion with range to be able to harass the enemy and some CC is going to be useful in a dual lane. But moving on to just a bit of a summary now. Being a carry, the best place for LeBlanc is the middle lane. This will allow her to gain early levels over her enemies in the side lanes and hopefully ensure her an early kill from a successful gank. Her E spell, Ethereal Chains, allows her to...
Ethereal Chains is her W.
No,
it's...
That's her E.
That's her E.
Wait, I have it here.
No, her E is her teleport.
No, her W is the teleport.
And W is the chains.
I'm in the shop, I'm looking at her. Her W is the teleport, her E is the chains.
I do think it's irrelevant.
Yeah, it is pretty irrelevant, but it is definitely her E spell that is the change. The W is the distort, which is the teleport. I've played like 15 games with her now, and you know, I'm definitely not teleporting when I'm pressing E. So, okay, just to finish what I was saying, this is so she can side lane. This is due to her being ranged, so she can harass, as well as because of her E spell, Ethereal Chains, providing her with some CC. Mimic at level 6 can also be used to cast Ethereal Chains twice, allowing for a 2-second stun in total, but you said it was a snare, not a stun. Either way, whatever lane she is in, she needs to focus one target and avoid wasting her high mana cost on harassing non-squishies. So moving on to what ability defines LeBlanc the most?
Great, I don't know about Ethereal Chains being useful CC since it's a skill shot. Her Q, on the other hand, would be useful in a side lane. So people can't escape from a gank or harassment. That would be useful. But hitting the Ethereal Chains from anywhere but the bushes is kinda, I don't know.
Especially since it latches on the minions most of the time.
Yes, that's what I've been saying. It's a skill shot. It's really hard to land.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the points that you're making. It's just my opinion. I don't. It is a skill shot, so it is difficult to land, but it's not impossible to land. And with her Q, you can both silence and snare your opponent for a snare of up to 2 seconds, which is going to be useful in a side lane. And also, like you mentioned, she's got that silence, so she'll be able to silence the opponent as well, and like you say, prevent them from escaping. So she has got quite a bit of CC in the form of a snare and a silence. So she's not bad in a side lane. It's just not the perfect place for her to be. So moving on to what defines LeBlanc. What spell defines LeBlanc the most? Moving on to tank.
The ability that defines LeBlanc the most is pretty much her mimic. Because that is the only if it's basically you turn this on and you fire off the last skill you just cast that's even stronger. It goes 10%, 25%, 40%, and when you got a very insanely strong Q, which can already nuke some of you for like a third of their health, and then you fire another one that's 40% stronger, is just amazing damage. Then you just fire off your W, just teleport on top of them to pop the second silence, and you've silenced them for 7 seconds total. It's amazing. Just amazing.
Well, I do think that all her abilities are quite unique. My favorite being Distortion, since it's a stupid double flash.
Brilliant double flash. He means awesome double flash.
No, I mean stupid double flash, and with
I flash onto you, then I flash back.
Yes. That's ridiculous. And with Mimic and Summoner Spell Flash, we're looking at a triple flash.
Yes.
And you
I
can't
saw someone do that once, and she went past the tower without even being targeted.
Yeah, it was me. Was
No,
me.
it was not you.
It was me, honest.
You did it too. No, it was someone else.
Yeah.
It was enemy.
Yeah, in mid, she can go from one tower to the other in just flashes.
Not bad.
Okay, her W spell distortion allows her not only to flash a short distance, but also for a few seconds flash back to that location. Essentially a double flash, great for dodging skill shot CC. So as mentioned earlier on, that you can combine that with the summon spell flash, giving her a triple flash, which is much fun to do. Okay, moving on to what team composition is LeBlanc best suited in. Over to you, Sydney.
I really have no idea. I don't think she's the best pick at the moment. She is definitely strong, but I like AoE teams with mass disable, and I wouldn't like LeBlanc on my team. Well, something where she can be given free reign for several seconds, so she can pull off a combo. Something with mass snare, mass taunt, mass stun. So a Galio and a Mumu, a Shen, something like that. She should be in her team.
Okay, so someone with a lot of CC like Ramis or Amumu. Okay, so do you have an opinion on the matter, C-Zone?
Not really. I don't know.
He's a noob.
No, that's not really the only thing. But I never played her, so I didn't know what she's good with. And
Well, let me just reword
I've only played with one good LeBlanc, and
yeah, and I'll just
That's great.
Let me put it this way: she needs a team that can survive 4v5. That can allow her to stay in the back and wait for her cooldowns to pass.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, just because you don't main LeBlanc, don't be afraid to give your opinion on the matter. You might be quite new to LeBlanc, but there will be players listening to this cast out there which will be new themselves and will value your opinion. So C-Zone, your opinion on this cast is just as valid as anyone else. So tell us your opinion on what sort of team composition she should be on. Let me rephrase the question slightly. Who would you put yourself in LeBlanc's shoes? Who would you want on your team?
Well, like Sydney said, some stunners, disablers, whatever, just to make sure that she can go in and go out without getting completely owned, because she is squishy, of course. So
like a Ramis or a Mumu mentioned.
I don't know.
What about the games we played when you was Warwick?
That's true. That was quite a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, it was quite an effective combination. You getting 6 with Warwick and applying the stun, and just LeBlanc just unleashing fury. It was quite good fun. So over to you, Tank. Your thoughts, team composition.
Jungler, Ramis, Shen. I'd say either like an Ashe or Tristana or Corki as the main carry. In LeBlanc, since LeBlanc is mostly an early game hero, I'd say you'd want at least another mage who can do well in the late game. I would say like Malzahar, since he does percent-based damage, or you can even just stick Kog'Maw in there since he does mostly magic damage in the first place. Otherwise, that last player could just be another off-tank that's beefy, that preferably would have a stun, right? Or a support works too. So like a Taric or a Scion, Renekton. There's a lot of beefy people you can stick in that spot, or a support. Even a Lux would be good in that spot too.
Right, okay, guys, some good points there. I admit this one's quite a difficult question. Okay, just to summarise, LeBlanc is more dependent on her enemy team's composition. Making sure they have at least 1 or 2 squishies on their team is a must. She is a great counter mage pick due to her silence, which, thanks to Mimic, can be up to 4 seconds long.
Yeah.
Also, as for LeBlanc's team, she needs very little protection due to her great escape mechanisms, although she will need a good initiator like a Mumu or Ramis. Okay, earlier on I think Tank Hunter mentioned that LeBlanc's silence lasts 7 seconds, but I think you were getting slightly confused with the tooltip. On the tooltip it says 3.5 seconds, and thanks to Mimic that would be 7 seconds, but it's not, the silence isn't 3.5 seconds, the spell just procs on them for 3.5 seconds, and then you have to hit them with another spell. and that procs silence. The actual silence is only 2 seconds with mimic. That's 4.
That's still
It's
a
been
lot.
a while since I've played, so.
Yeah, no worries, no problem. Okay, so moving on. What is the best build for LeBlanc? Does she go straight AP? Does she go Aurora items? What are her recommended items? And are they right? Are they good? And I will pass that one over to Tank Hunter.
Let's
No
see.
idea. Oh.
The
Oh,
best
so-
opening would be to go Sork Shoes and Haunting Guys, since that gives you 40 magic penetration straight off the bat, combined with some early magic pen from runes. You can negate pretty much up to 50 magic pen right at the start. So when you do that, the enemy, since especially early, doesn't really have any magic resist. They're gonna have no magic resist at all. So you do your full damage, which will hit for a lot. Come late game, though, when you have more survivability items like a Banshee's Veil or Rylai's, and the enemy is stacking magic resist, I would say get rid of the Haunting Guys and the Shark Shoes in favor of the cooldown reduction, the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, the cooldown boots, and the Void Staff, because as everyone who has looked into the penetration knows, is that percent penetration comes after flat penetration. So when you use all that much flat penetration, you're actually reducing the effectiveness of your Void Staff, which if with the Haunting Guys and Sork Shoes combined, you can reduce your Void Staff's worth to almost just the AP it gives you.
Right, okay, some excellent points on magic penetration there from Tank. Okay, so Sydney, your opinion?
No idea, really.
None at all, or
AP items, I agree with the penetration stuff, and she definitely needs some survivability, at least a Banshee's Veil to not get caught with a random stun that flies her way, and be able to flash away with her crazy double flash.
Of course, an automatic buy on all mages is the death cap of Doom.
Yeah, well, the death cap. I'm not sure, but Mage might be a good item on her, seeing as how she'll be getting lots of kills early game.
okay, so some quite heavy AP items being named at the minute. Over to you, C-Zone.
I'd build her a tank with like 4 Warmokes and then an Atmos Impeller because that gives percentage of your health in damage.
Oh, you can farm well.
Yeah, of course. So no, but seriously, I agree with the Magi's because if you play her properly, she should be getting a lot of kills and or assists. And well, I agree with the other 2 guys, with Sydney and Tank.
Yeah, so no one's going for my secret tank build with Warmogs then?
I just said that.
Well, she doesn't have enough CCE to be a tank.
Well, she's got her E,
Yeah, she's got the E.
and if she can tank that well, she'll be able to stand next to someone with her E and not die.
Tank LeBlanc, you heard it here
That's
first. Just to summarise, straight AP items like Death Cap and Void Staff are among my favourites. Throw in some HP and mana from items like Rod of Ages and Banshee's Veil, and you're good to go. Upcoming patch notes aim to hit cooldown reduction items such as Spirit Visage and Glacial Shroud. Do you think this will affect LeBlanc, in your opinion? Over to you, Sydney.
It will affect the tank LeBlanc.
Yes, it will.
In-
To be
in
honest,
case
the
I
cooldown
happen to
reduction
stumble
of
upon
most of
one.
the items that are being hit are not items that LeBlanc would use. Even Frozen Heart and Glacial Shroud, she wouldn't really use those.
I think one of the items on the hit list is the Ionian Boots.
Oh.
And I think she may take a hit in that respect. But you are right, they are mainly aimed at tanky DPS.
LeBlanc would go for cooldown reduction. LeBlanc would go for Deathfire Grass and late game Ionian Boots of Lucidity in exchange for the Sork Boots. Those 2 combined with a blue pot will give you 40% cooldown reduction.
Yeah, and I think Riot are arguing that you can achieve the 40% cap on cooldown reduction easily with the Ionian boots and.
The majority of the items that they said that they are going to nerf for cooldown reduction are for tanks mainly. So Ionian boots of lucidity weren't even mentioned in being hit.
Well, I think they're too cheap for their effectiveness.
No.
Nah.
I don't think there'll be a reason to buy the boots if they reduce the cooldown reduction on them, because there are much better boots, and the only appeal of Ionian boots of lucidity is that they give a lot for a low price. If they give less for the same price, I would pick sock boots or mag treads over them every time.
Okay, some good points there, gentlemen. I'm just going to pass it over to C-Zone. What are your thoughts?
Well, I never played tanks, so I didn't really know too much about this item. So I only know about Spirit Visage, which I use for my Warwick and my Swain. But, I don't know how much that's going to affect LeBlanc, because, as Tank said, most of the items that when noted, I wouldn't take them on LeBlanc, I think. So I don't think it will be too much of a problem for LeBlanc, the upcoming patch.
Yeah, I mean, good points, gentlemen. I mean, they are mainly aimed at tanky DPS people and tanks and in that respect. But like I say, with the boots, the amount of cooldown reduction items are limited, so she may feel the effect, especially coming from the boots. And she does get Deathfire Grasp is another mage cooldown reduction item which may be hit. Okay, so are there any advanced tricks you use with LeBlanc? I'll pass that one over to Tank.
Advanced tricks.
Depends on what you call advanced, I guess.
Yeah. It depends on what you'd call advanced. Sure, popping over the wall when no one expects you, nuking them down from half their health while they're trying to run away is completely awesome. And then just popping back over and just like, where the hell did LeBlanc go? Why is she here? How did she appear in the first place?
Stupid double
play.
Are you saying that she's effective in the jungle?
I'm saying she's effective at ganking from the jungle, but she's not effective in the jungle itself.
I agree.
Although I know a player who's been trying jungle LeBlanc, and he managed to kill the golem with smite and the right runes and masteries, but still he didn't manage to perfect the skill of jungling LeBlanc.
I wonder if the golem hits the illusion at 40% HP.
That's the thing. When you go below 40% health, your passive pops in, and the golem de-aggroes and starts healing.
Yeah.
It drops the aggro.
Though there is something to note about her passive. When it procs, it pops projectiles and makes you temporarily invulnerable while it's going.
True.
It also gives you 0.5 seconds stealth as well.
Yes.
It's a 0.5 second stealth and invulnerability and projectile popping.
Okay, just to summarise, I learned that I could Q and E for long-range harassment from safe distances. The enemy cannot dodge it due to it being a targetable spell, and cannot retaliate after due to them being silenced for 2 seconds. W and then R with the summoner ability flash meant that I had 3 short-range teleports, which was great for chasing, escaping and tower diving. Okay, moving on to what are LeBlanc's strengths. I shall pass that one over to Sydney Lasserot. Over to you.
Juking, definitely.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I flash over a wall. Oh, you're here? I flash back. Fuck you. And you can do that all the time because
it's like you flash over a wall, run to another wall, flash over it, run to the next wall, flash over that. It's like, I've just gone from mid lane to bottom lane. You can't catch me. Da-na-na-na.
Also, the aforementioned projectile popping. I think that's one of the few abilities that pops projectile in this game. The others being Vlad's Sanguine Pool and Checo's Hallucinate.
Does it pop projectiles? I didn't know that. I'm not saying you're wrong, but
When properly timed, it can block a Carthasol.
Really?
I've tried that many times with Flash Summon spell and failed painfully. Yes, and moving on to LeBlanc's strengths, I would definitely have to say it's got to be her dance. As Tank Hunter mentioned, it's got to be can't touch this. Okay, so things like high burst damage, great escape mechanisms, and is very flexible as well. Definitely have to be her strengths. Okay, so
Also the capability to pub stomp.
yeah, but I don't. I mean, I'm not saying you can't with that spell. I'd have to check that, but I have played LeBlanc for quite a few games now, and personally haven't been able to proper projectile yet. But okay, how do you counter LeBlanc, or what are her weaknesses? Over to you, Sydney.
You disable her, basically. You disable her and nuke her to death. Or you make sure she can't hit you, basically. I'd say that.
So someone with good CC.
Yeah, make sure she can't touch you either. That what you're gonna
Can't touch this.
Oh, I think the main counter to LeBlanc is denying her early kills and surviving into late game. She will become unnoticeable. When people get some magic resist, some hit points, she won't be able to burst down even a squishy quickly enough to grant her the kill, to give her team an advantage in a team fight. And, well, she becomes virtually non-existent in late game. I mean, 40 minutes into the game, I stopped noticing LeBlanc.
Well, I'm not sure what LeBlanc you've been playing with there, but I think you need to be typing some encouraging words to them in chat, in my opinion. Over to you, Tank Hunter.
Let's see. As a Mordekaiser player, it's mostly just after you get some early gold, go back and buy yourself a Negatron cloak. When you do that, if she goes for the Sork Boots and Haunting Guise, then at least you're gonna mitigate that problem by negating most of its bonus. And
yeah,
pretty much other than that, is just get yourself some early magic resist, even if it delays your build a bit. Because then, if she can't kill you,
yeah,
she fails.
Then you can have a chance to kill her. And if she doesn't get fed, she's not going to be a problem later on.
Yeah, okay, yeah, some good points. I agree with pretty much everything you just said. Some stuff I've got down here though is she's very easy if she gets CC'd. So as mentioned earlier on, things like Scion are good counters to her. If she gets stunned, then she goes down pretty fast. You've got players like Vigor as well, which are a bit of an anti-mage due to LeBlanc having to get a lot of AP, so she does that massive burst. She's going to be food for Vigor all day long. Also magic resistance being she's full magic damage, so if you get some magic resistance, it really hurts her, as you were saying with the Mordekaiser there, stacking some magic resistance early on. Things like Banshee's Veil is just going to completely put LeBlanc at a massive disadvantage. You'll be able to avoid the silence or the stun depending on which move she initiates on you first. So other than that, we've got a tanky team composition will destroy as well. She needs to kill squishies.
Jin, Scion, Mordekaiser,
Nasus.
Olaf,
You name it.
Nasus, Renekton. It's like if they got a lot of HP, they're gonna look at you, you nuke them, they will laugh, and then they will squish you.
Also, any character with any sort of healing. If she can't burst down a person with a single combo, she's dead.
Yeah. Tarek is really good for fighting her.
Soraka?
Well, against the healing enemy champions, you could argue that she's got a silence. However, you are right. I mean, anyone with a lot of HP, she needs to make sure she's focusing on the squishies, otherwise she's going to get it in the kipper. Okay, guys, that's it for Champion of the Week podcast number 3. Thanks for joining the show. It's been absolutely fantastic to have you. I will catch you later, guys, and remember, you can't touch this. Dun, 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 dun.